welcome to Yoga Talk. My name is Diane Covanda, and today we have my dear friend Megha Nancy Buttenheim, and she's visiting the Cape, and she's also a teacher for our Kind Yoga teacher training. And I'd love to hear, Megha, the way that you got into yoga, and also you created this amazing program, Let Your Yoga Dance. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself and about your program?
I'll be happy to, and it's just such a pleasure to
Thank
be
you.
with you on your own TV show. That's so great. I go back a long way with dance, like to age 4. So Mom sent me off to dance class, modern dance actually, and which I did forever and ever, and never stopped. And yoga came a little later. Yoga came probably in my late 20s. And the biggest thrust I got with yoga was that I was teaching, I wasn't teaching, I was acting at Shakespeare and Company out in the Berkshires. And a yoga group came to town, and they bought a Jesuit novitiate in Stockbridge, right next door to Tanglewood. And I was very impressed with this. This was the Kripalu Center for Yoga and Health, and this is in the days when it was an ashram, a spiritual community. And so I took a program there and then moved in. So
how could you not, right?
It was very compelling, and I was very sad about my theater career, but I thought, well, I'll be back. But what I loved so much about it was that the yoga was very moving. In fact, there's still a component in Kripalu Yoga called meditation in motion, which just was perfect.
My favorite thing.
Isn't it great?
Yes.
It's very, very special. And it really focuses on the mystery. And also, I don't have to pay attention to the teacher all the time, that I actually can find my yoga, let yoga do me rather than me do yoga so much. So that's a really beautiful aspect of the practice that I love. And in the ashram there was also a dance component called dance kinetics. And I just took to that like a duck to water, primarily because it was really welcoming for everybody. I was so shocked those early days when I first went to that class and noticed that there were people in the room who obviously had never had a dance class. They really were falling all over themselves, and I went, oh my, this is different.
I think I was one of them.
No, I doubt that, but I was used to classes in New York City where everybody was a professional, and I felt like a klutz. And I kept saying, I've been dancing all my life, and yet do I have the right to say I am a dancer? And so by living and staying at Kripalu for 12 years, I really developed my own practice, which I called Let Your Yoga Dance, Grace in Motion. And the first tenet, of course, was to keep what I had learned at Kripalu. Yep, everybody's a dancer. Everybody who walks in here should feel really proud of their body, just the way it is, and also the way they move. And if they say they're a klutz, or if they say, oh, you know, I can't do that, well, then maybe they should just lower their standards a little bit and accept that the body that they're in, the gender that they have, the age that they have. So over these decades, I have found my way to really merge yoga, dance, and the energy centers of the body known as the chakras, where we go right from the feet all the way up through the spine to the crown of the head. And basically, I think those chakras touch every aspect of our life, so it can be a real roadmap to consciousness.
I think of you as coming right from the heart chakra.
Oh,
Everything that you teach is so welcoming and freeing, and it's inviting people to be kind to themselves and appreciative. And so heart chakra, just a quickie on heart chakra, this would be giving and receiving, and you come right from that place.
Thank you. It's interesting.
And your teaching does.
Well, I feel that I am pretty landed in the heart, but I do want to do an advertisement for the first chakra. And that is planting the feet in the ground. I feel that a lot of people on the spiritual path can kind of get like all way up into outer space. And I've learned over the years, using my Shakespeare background, that hell hath no fury like the first chakra scorned. So that I want my practice to be one that really grounds people on the earth. so that they can really walk, like they can walk their mountain very strongly, and just feeling like, yep, I belong here, I'm strong, I'm powerful in myself, and I can come from my heart at the same time. So just thought I'd do that. That's little beautiful ad for Chakra One.
Will you show us a grounded practice that somebody could actually join us in at home right now?
Oh, sure. This actually, you know, flows into yoga as well. So this could be the beginning of a Let Your Yoga Dance class or a yoga class. And it starts with the feet really planted on the ground with the hands over the thighs. Now this can be done on a chair, as we are, on the floor, or standing. And I like to mix it up a little. But so from a chair's point of view, we start by taking a deep breath in through the nose, and then round the spine, and just look right down at your navel. This is called the cat. And then inhale, a gentle arch of the spine. This is the dog. And so we're shortening the spine at the moment. And then we lengthen the spine, rounding it, look down, and exhale on a sound. So let's do that a few times. Inhaling, and just look at the place where the ceiling meets the wall, and then exhale. Inhale, and exhale. So one more time. This is the dog as we inhale up, arching, and exhale, rounding. So these are two ways that the spine loves to move. All right, so that's the dog. Isn't that good? Yeah. That's the dog and the cat. I love to do that before and after a long drive. Now we come into lateral flexion. So it's really important to lengthen first and then arch over to your right. And as we arch over, you can feel like your body's turning into a little comma or a C curve. And then inhale up, get nice and tall, and exhale, other side. You can use the arms if you like. You can let them just drape on either side of you, inhaling up and exhale. And those listeners can really sigh the breath out. And if you want to bring your arm overhead, you can do that as well. So then we really begin to let the yoga start to dance. Lateral flexion. This is the third and fourth movements of the spine. Always using the breath. So we really coordinate breath with movement. So that's the third and fourth movement. Now, what's another way the spine moves? It twists. So again, it's really important to lengthen first, and then look over your right shoulder and twisting. See how far you can go comfortably, and then come back to center, and then twist to the other side. Now in yoga, we tend to hold poses, but in Let Your Yoga Dance, we actually dance them a little. So you could actually take your hands and start to move them. You can bring the arms back using the breath. Might knock your hand a little bit there, your elbow. And again, deep breath from side to side. Fifth and sixth movements of the spine. And then when we come back, the seventh movement is sitting again. This is the grounding first chakra, feet in the ground, crown of the head pressing up, and this way we have a long, elegant spine. And this is known as the seated mountain pose, Tadasana. And you could raise your arms up overhead if you like to have a seated mountain. So that's available for some, but shoulder issues, arms down is just fine too. So those are the 7 movements: rounding and arching, and then lateral flexion, and then twisting, rotating. This is also known as a yoga posture, Matsyendrasana, the spinal twist, except that we're not holding it, we're moving it. And 7th movement is lengthening.
I love that. And I feel like I just got taller, right? When we do mountain in yoga, your feet are into the ground and the crown of your head is lifting up, and this feels like we're doing the same thing, except now our sits bones are pressing down.
That's right. So our feet are the real anchor when we stand, but when we're in a seated position, these sitting bones, known as the ischial tuberosities, they're our feet when we sit. Once upon a time I was telling people to dance on their ischial tuberosities, and somebody said, "Excuse me, is that Sanskrit?" I said, no, that's medical. That's anatomical language. Ischial tuberosities. We do a dance, we go, ischial tuberosity, ischial tuberosity. So,
I love it.
It's pretty silly.
And you're talking about dancing in your seat.
Yes, well, oh, of course. Anybody, see, this is the thing with, as I've been developing Let Your Yoga Dance, again, I have this credo that we are all dancers. Everybody on this earth is a dancer, whether or not they've ever been in a yoga or a dance studio. Other cultures know this. So people say, well, what about me? You know, I'm in a wheelchair, or I've just broken my leg, or I have a sprained ankle and I'm stuck in a chair. So I started noodling around in chairs and thought, wow, this is pretty remarkable. I mean, sitting in a chair, I didn't know. This was, you know, when I started doing that was about 10 years ago, and I didn't realize that when I do movements in a chair, let's say just pick up a leg. So let's say, let's come into the lion pose, right? But if I'm sitting in a chair and picking up my leg, my abs get a workout that they wouldn't.
Yeah, I feel that.
I know, isn't it amazing? And you just did, what, you just did 2 little things, right?
Yeah.
It's really amazing. Who knew?
And people, I feel like I'm doing the Charleston too.
That's true. All that jazz. Yes, we can always, you know, bump things up and dance it, but we can start. This is Let Your Yoga Dance. And I think the 4 words are really, really important. Let is all about allowing. Your, it's your yoga. So let's say, you know, I can do everything. I can put my ankle over my head, which I can't anymore. I could once.
I used to be able to.
I know, not so much now. But if you are having trouble in your body and you're watching me, it's an instantaneous opportunity for shame. And maybe like, I can't do this, I'm out of here. I don't want that. I want everybody to let their yoga dance, and it's your yoga. So yours is going to look different than mine. And that started with Kripalu Yoga for me, and now Kind Yoga is doing the same thing. It's kind, it's not mean. And I have to say that, you know, a lot of people nowadays are getting harmed in the name of yoga, which I don't think is acceptable. We don't have to get harmed. You know, and I'm going like this. Gee, I wonder why I'm going like this, because my wrists don't do well with down dog and chaturanga, the push-ups.
And if you're led to do 20 down dogs and 50 chaturangas, and you're not built for it because your wrists are built differently, or you might have some old injury, then that's not going to be yoga that's serving you. That's yoga that's harming you.
Right. So I call that becoming a slave to yoga. And what I want is for yoga and dance to be our servant, and for all of us to really fall in love with the body that we have and be really grateful for that body, no matter what injury it has or diseases. You know, it's doing the best it can.
Right.
Bodies are miracles.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and we're all so different.
Yeah.
And I love that you can do yoga in a chair or lying down.
In a bed.
In a bed.
Yeah, in a hospital bed.
You can still move something possibly, even if it's your eyelids.
Exactly.
And you can allow your yoga to be there.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can dance it too, you know, and that can also, one of the reasons I love to let my yoga dance is that it can bring up the joy quotient a lot, depending on what music is played. And I can just see, you know, now they've done research, you know, the brain lights up with certain kinds of music that someone loves, and it makes them a little happier.
It instantly showers you with all this incredible internal chemistry,
right?
Little
endorphins flying around, and serotonin comes up. You know, there's a lot of great research on it now.
I know you're in the positive psychology program and you're studying that, and I've seen you start bringing that into your work with Let Your Yoga Dance.
Well, you know, it just occurred to me, this is, I think 24 million people have seen Amy Cuddy's TED Talk. She's an amazing researcher, and she's done all of these, she's done work with power poses, and one of her favorites is the mountain. And if you're standing in the mountain with your arms overhead even for 2 little minutes, what happens is that the cortisol levels start to drop, and that's our stress hormone. What, at the same time, testosterone, the power hormone, comes up. Isn't that amazing? 2 little minutes? That's not very long. So, you know,
Incredible.
Western medicine, yes, it's catching up to this ancient science.
What the
you know?
yogis have always
They've
known,
always
and
known
yet
it.
the researchers are now catching
I
up and
know.
finding proof for it, which
Right.
is really fun.
I'm so proud of Western science.
Yeah,
Yay, Western science.
yay. Well, we're going to close right now,
Okay.
and our next show is about special populations, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
Diane.
so much for coming, Mega.